Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into the research on how we build an AI future that we can actually, you know, trust. Our mission is pretty simple. We want to figure out how to train the next wave of AI professionals
Right.
so that responsibility is truly built in.
Right, not just bolted on as an afterthought.
Exactly.
And that's urgent because the central tension here is just so clear. AI's power is, it's undeniable. But the technology itself has just completely outpaced our ethical framework.
It's left them in the dust.
Totally. And that gap is where all the problems live. Algorithmic bias, privacy issues, a real lack of accountability.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
The big takeaway from the sources seems to be that you can't just tack a philosophy course onto a computer science degree and call it a day.
No, absolutely not. It requires a fundamental shift.
A shift where ethical thinking becomes like an intrinsic part of the toolkit, as important as knowing how to code.
That's it, exactly. And that's where you see this idea that organizations like Deloitte are pushing for. They call it ethics by design.
Ethics by design. So that's not just a slogan.
No, it's a methodology. It means you're integrating those ethical questions throughout the entire development lifecycle, from the very first idea, the first line of code.
And you see this echoed in the European Commission's guidelines too, right? They're stressing things like human agency, fairness, transparency. But let me just push back for a second. Is there a concern here that all this ethical theory just slows everything down? That we're trading speed for safety.
That's a fair question, and it's one that comes up a lot, but the research actually argues the complete opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Building in trust from the start actually accelerates public adoption in the long run. And to do that, education has to move past just abstract philosophy. It has to get practical.
Okay, so if ethics is foundational, what does that actually look like in a curriculum? How do you teach this?
Well, it really comes down to two main things. First, you have to embed ethics modules directly into the core computer science and engineering classes.
So it's not a separate class, it's part of the main event.
Precisely. And second, you use really practical hands-on stuff, like case studies of AI failures and, crucially, red teaming exercises.
Red teaming. So you're basically teaching them to be hackers of their own systems, to find the flaws.
In a way, yeah. You're forcing future developers to actively try and break their own models to find those hidden biases before they get out into the world and affect people.
That makes a lot of sense. And I saw the Alan Turing Institute really stresses this can't happen in an echo chamber either.
No, it can't. You have to bring in experts from law, from sociology, philosophy. You need that interdisciplinary conversation to make the ethical discourse richer.
So the goal is to get them to ask more than just, can we build this?
Yes. The goal is to get them to ask, should we build this? And if we do, how do we build it responsibly?
Okay, so let's connect the dots for everyone listening. If we get this right, what's the actual payoff for the rest of us? Why should you care?
Because it directly leads to more trustworthy, more robust AI systems. That means less bias in things that actually affect your life.
Like getting a loan or a job application.
Exactly. And on a bigger scale, it fosters way more public acceptance, and it makes the whole regulatory headache a lot simpler for governments.
Right, so if we're leading in responsible AI, that's a huge competitive edge. We're advancing technology in a way that's morally sound and actually benefits society.
That's the whole point. The core takeaway really is that simple. Cultivating these skills from day one is the absolute bedrock of a trustworthy AI future.
No question. And that brings up one last thing for you to think about. If building this kind of ethical reasoning into the curriculum is so essential, then what established technical requirement, something that's considered standard today, might need to be scaled back to make room for this deeper focus on social responsibility?